So this is something that always annoyed me a little bit. Is Dragon Ball Super did this thing where they constantly always use Super Saiyan Blue for literally everything. So it messed up the power scaling really, really bad, where people just assumed that every single character was on the same level as other characters, which sometimes it's kind of like people being dumb, but sometimes it's like I can kind of see why people would assume that. Like, for example, even forms that had nothing to do with Blue, like when it was Krillin and Gohan fighting, there were people who were like, oh, Krillin is on Gohan level. I'm like, no, he's not. But he's not weak either, but he's not even close to Mystic Gohan level. But it's like, it's almost like people don't know how to separate things, but it is also because Dragon Ball Super's writing is bad. It's both. You know, for example, there's the fight with Krillin and Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Clearly, Goku is holding back, and he turns blue, and he slowly is using his power to see how much Krillin can handle. And then he kind of does too much, and then 18 kicks his, hand or whatever, to stop Krillin from getting hurt. But Krillin technically still loses. So it always annoys me when people act like every single form is on blue level, but at the same time they use blue way too much in Dragon Ball Super. They used it for literally everything to the point where it started looking weak. So one thing people used to always constantly say is that Android 17 is on blue level, which is not true. Just because him and Goku fought in blue, doesn't technically mean that Android 17 is on the same level as blue. Remember when Goku kept using Super Saiyan for everything in Dragon Ball Z? That doesn't technically mean that every single person that he fights is that same level. They can be stronger or weaker. So this is one of those examples where it's like Goku is using his strongest form, but he's kind of holding back like he always does. Remember, Whis said that was one of his problems. He uses his strongest form, but he holds back because he wants to see what his other opponent is capable of. Super 17 has never been on Super Saiyan Blue level at all. Matter of fact, if you go and look at the Tournament of Power, a lot of the people that 17 were fighting, you can kind of tell that a lot of them were probably like Super Saiyan 2 level and Super Saiyan 3 level. Like the Tournament of Power's power scaling was kind of all over the place too, because there were characters that were fighting other characters that were on the same level as them. This is something that a lot of people don't notice. A lot of people were saying, for example, that Master Roshi was fighting people that were like above him. No, they were all fighting people from different universes that were just like our universe, where some of the characters are super strong like Goku, some of the characters are in the middle like Gohan, some of the characters are weaker like Tien. All the universes had a melting pot of characters, just like I think our universe is called Universe 7. I haven't watched it in a while. So that's another thing. But I'm not saying that power scaling in Dragon Ball Super isn't trash, because it is. But it just got on my nerves when people kept constantly saying that Android 17 was on the same level as Goku, when he's clearly not. He's strong, but he's clearly not. But there's points. I think every episode of Dragon Ball Super is written by different people. So it's like in one episode, one thing happens, and the next episode, another thing happens. Remember when Vegeta got that sparkly blue form, and then he got his butt whooped, and then the next episode he used it again? I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, didn't he just lose? Like, the Tournament of Power had a lot of moments that were kind of made no sense. But again, every episode is written by someone else, so it just is. It is what it is, you know. No, I remember what it was. He used the final explosion against Topo, but then he didn't die this time. Somehow he used the final explosion. He didn't die. It used up all his power, but like then I think it was the next episode he used that sparkly blue form again. So it was just kind of like, well, what was the point of that then? It was like you could tell that they were kind of writing themselves in a corner. But again, they were just kind of freestyling Dragon Ball Super, so it doesn't surprise me at all. But yeah, Android 17 is not on the same level as Blue. He's not. Because most of the people he fought were super weak. He did fight Jiren at the end, but that one part made no sense when he blasted Jiren in the back. It made no sense because they straight up said that he's a person who has um, no weak points. He has no opening. Remember, they said that literally in the show. And then, like an episode later, they figured out that they basically kept writing themselves in a corner and had to rewrite themselves out of the corner. That's the problem with Dragon Ball Super. Even though I do like Dragon Ball Super just was all over the place with the writing. It really was. In the anime, somehow Kefla is weaker in the manga and she's fighting Gohan, but in the anime, she's strong and she's fighting Ultra Instinct. You know, power scaling is BS. It always has been. But that's all I have to say. Peace and blessings.